That's right. You're listening to and watching now the Arsenal Review USA podcast and broadcast, if I want to throw that in. It's the podcast for the American Gooner. You can find us at arsenalreviewusa.com. And doing things a little bit differently this week, we've got with us Kyle, of course. Kyle, wave. This is, yes, the intros. And then we've also got Jon Shay. You know him from Woolwich 1886. And then Colin from the crew of Arsenal, the New Orleans Gooners, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the Gooner Gras, how many Gooner Gras have you guys had? Before we get into it, I'm just curious because you've been doing this for a while, right?
Yeah. This was the fourth. So we're gearing up to have a big fifth one next year. We got lots of big plans already. So
sweet. Okay, well, we'll hear about the fourth one, I guess, in a second here. But first of all, we do have to start. We do have to talk about Arsenal. I mean, it's not that bad, right? Because they did win a game. It was just it was just such a weird game too. Because even if they had lost it, I feel like there was enough goodwill just in seeing the fat people playing for Sutton United, and various things that come up with the FA Cup. That it was.
He is playing loosely, though, right?
Yeah, that's my question to you. When's the last
existing? I think existing is the proper term.
He's existing.
Fat people existing for Sutton United, also consuming food.
Yeah,
becoming heroes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Well, we'll get to that in a second because obviously we haven't talked about the Bayern Munich. We won't call it a game. We'll call it a result. Since our last podcast, so I don't know who wants to take that away, John or Colin. But I mean, the first question really is, how in the world doesn't even matter. How you even place this game in context. It doesn't even matter anymore, where this fits in Arsenal's history of bad results. I mean, what did this game mean to you? And what do you think it means to Arsenal in terms of, first of all, Arsene Wenger and just more immediately this season? I mean, is everyone as numb as I am? I guess that's the really roundabout question. John, we'll start with
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know how numb you are, but
pretty numb.
Yeah, pretty numb. I think it's been pretty clear for a while that we're a few cuts below the likes of Bayern and Real Madrid and Barca and the rest. But this is the first one that really underscored that to this degree. We're used to losing first legs, and how typical is it of Arsenal to win the group only to end up facing Bayern yet again, and then to get shellacked to this degree? We know we lag behind the rest of these clubs, but to have it highlighted so egregiously is troubling. And I think after that third goal, I think you could see the players on the pitch just kind of give up. They said, we can't compete with this. And I don't know what that means for the likes of Ozil or Alexis come summer, but I'm not quite ready to say it's time for Wenger to leave. But as dedicated as I have been to supporting the man, it's the writing's on the wall. And if we can't get something out of this season, whether it's the FA Cup or the Prem, I'd like to see him go.
Yeah. Colin, what about you? I mean, obviously, this is not good for Arsenal in general. This result, it never is.
No.
But just in terms of this season, do you think we're going to see the typical lose to a good team in the Champions League, then get a shot in the arm for the remainder of the season, or do you think they're a little more down and out than they have been in recent seasons?
Did feel a little more down and out in the immediate aftermath, but I kind of feel like it's going to play out how the past few seasons have, where we'll go on a run and we'll probably finish above Tottenham, and maybe we'll win the FA Cup on the way. That'd be nice. But I don't know. And I'm a huge Wenger supporter, but I think it might be time to move on.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, John mentioned that or alluded to that too. I mean, there's always been, not always, for the last couple of years, there's been this like toxic environment that's kind of unfortunately circled around Arsene Wenger. It sounds like both of you guys are kind of the opinion that is here to stay. Like we've reached the point of no return after this recent setback in the Champions League, or is there some kind of lifeline? Where if he wins the FA Cup or something else.
Yeah, I see. We've done the FA Cup twice. We did it back, and that's not been enough. And last year, we finished second, and you can say all you want about Leicester's season and how historic it was, but we really only finished second because of the miseries of Chelsea and Man U, and that we kind of reveled in that. And then Tottenham, of course, bottled it, and which I think gave a bigger shine to finishing second. But in the end, we really have to say to ourselves, can we really continue to count on other clubs stumbling and call that success? I don't think we can. Last season, we should have won the FA Cup. We should have won the Prem. And if Wenger is serious about staying on for 2 more years, as he is saying, it's going to take something pretty remarkable, not just winning the FA Cup, which we've done, but he's going to have to do the double. And with Chelsea as far ahead as they are and in the form they're in, I don't see that happening.
Yeah. And I think more importantly to both of you, all good things come to an end, whether you love or hate Arsene Wenger, whether you hated him or loved him, I guess, before the Bayern result. I think a lot of things have changed for many fans, just knowing that his time is maybe rapidly coming to a close, maybe quicker than maybe we all thought before this first time in the Champions League. But maybe more importantly, of the product on the field with the players that we currently have, why do you think it might be different, if at all possible? I mean, the possibility is a very real thing, I guess, right now of Alexis and Ozil and various others. Even the apparently fake news of Perez wanting to leave. I guess that was that wasn't true. It ended up not being true. But let's take Alexis, for example. Why would Alexis, I guess, be different than, say, some of the other stars that we've seen go in the summer, which is, we had that revolving door for quite a few years and have been able to hold on to players at least the last couple summers for the most part. Why would an Alexis be, so much different, maybe in your eyes, John, than in years past when Van Persie and Fabregas and others have gone?
Well, yeah, going as far back as Cole, we could say to ourselves, these players are being tapped up, and we had to sell them in order to finance a stadium debt and that sort of thing. But Ozil and Alexis were signings that were supposed to signal a new era. We're no longer paying down this debt so much, where we have more financial freedom. These are the kinds of signings that we can now make in order to make ourselves into serious contenders. So to see Sanchez leave or Ozil leave, I think might signal a deeper crisis than to see Fabregas or Van Persie leave, because there's no longer the rationale whereby we can say, well, we had to sell them in order to finance other issues. That's no longer an excuse. We can't really hide behind that anymore. These guys came to Arsenal to help rebuild, to help launch a new period of glory, and to see one or both of them leave, I think would be a deeper setback than Fabregas, Van Persie, Nasri, Clichy, Cole, or anyone else.
Yeah. And Colin, I know we've talked about the highlights of maybe the non-football insight on the Gooner Gras, just Gooners getting together here in a second. But what were the murmurings around, I guess, the match itself? I guess which would have been Hull City at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But what were the murmurings around? Obviously, this is pre-Bayern fiasco, meltdown, etc. But what were the murmurings around the club? People's kind of general outlook on what had been the Arsenal season so far?
There was a little bit of because we had just come off the Watford debacle there, and so there was a little bit of people kind of came to the city not in a good place Arsenal wise, but it was hard to be happy in this city, I think. People kind of forgot.
We don't have that luxury in Detroit and Indianapolis. Okay, we're always in Chicago for that matter. I mean, we're always in the dumps.
I think
Colin, you got it good.
I think it served as a great therapeutic session for everyone to kind of forget and moved on, and the whole result turned out all right. So.
Yeah. Well, with that said, take us through the event. Now this fourth Gooner Gras, annual Gooner Gras, with the fifth being next year. I'm sure everyone's excited about that. Who has had a chance to attend? Hopefully, we'll make it down and be able to take part in the festivities, in the very near future. But take us through kind of the agenda, your typical schedule, and then maybe give us a little bit of a highlight of what we should expect for the fifth annual Gooner Gras next January.
Yeah. Okay. So this year was similar to the past couple of years. The very first year we had about maybe a dozen or so people that came in from out of town, so we had upwards of 30 or 40 with locals included, and we've basically almost doubled every year, and we had about 200 this year. When we have like a small welcome event on the Thursday at a bar. That's kind of a sister bar to our pub, which was mainly just kind of wasn't too much formal there, just kind of meet and greet and see old friends and things like that. And then Friday we have a huge welcome party for everybody where we do a big charity raffle, which is a huge part of our whole event and really a big part of our group in general, which kind of comes from like the Mardi Gras crew spirit down here. Is always a charitable aspect. And we name a king and queen of Gooner Gras every year, so that happens at the end of Friday night's event. And then we had the game early on Saturday morning, 6:30 a.m. And I think just about everybody made it. There were a few faces that a lot of people came in throughout the first half, but that's understandable. Then we had parades to go to on Saturday night, and we did a different thing on Sunday. We went to the horse races. We have an old famous horse racing track here, so it was kind of a fun, different thing that we tried this year. So that was pretty fun for those who made it.
Did most people bet on the 4th place horse in those races, or?
Oh dear.
Well, actually, we actually sponsored a race, so it was named after it was called the Crew of Arsenal Gooner Gras race, basically, and everybody bet on the horse that a jockey named Giroux was riding, and he actually won. He was the odds-on favorite, but yeah, so that was an interesting, unplanned thing that happened.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. Okay, so you guys have been doing this for 4 years now. This year, I mean, typically it's a pretty far-reaching event. Who's the how do you say, the furthest traveling Gooner that you ran into at Gooner Gras this year?
Yeah, so we had we always have a lot of people from Texas, from Dallas, Austin, Houston, and we have a pretty good contingent of people that come from LA, which is pretty far. But we did have one guy this year come from Hungary.
I saw the scarf.
Yeah, not exclusively for Gooner Gras, but he didn't just happen to be in the States. He came based around when Gooner Gras was happening, so he came with the plan to come. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, that is that probably takes the cake for you guys then, huh? For the last 4 years, the farthest traveling Gooner of all Gooner Gras.
That's definitely probably the furthest traveling who planned to come. We did have somebody last year who just happened to be in the States or nearby from Malaysia and ended up coming. So it'll be hard to beat that, but that was kind of a happenstance situation.
Okay.
So what should people expect or prepare for? I mean, I guess we're 11 months away here from, the 5th annual Gooner Gras, but it's never too early to start planning a trip to New Orleans for this particular event. So what could people be thinking about and planning for next year?
Yeah, well, people are always, we always get a lot of people saying in the week leading up to it, I wish I'd known about it. So next year, 2018, January 25th to 28th, the dates change slightly every year depending on, I don't know, the moon cycle and other various pagan things that determine Easter, I guess.
Right.
So January 25th next year. And it will be much of the same, but on a much larger scale. I mean, we feel like we're close to a kind of a critical mass of awareness now, and we wouldn't be surprised to almost double the 200 that we had this year. That there really seems to be that much awareness of the event now, nationally and even internationally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Well, this is just a roundabout way of Kyle trying to get me to go with him, of course, to the Gooner Gras next year. So it sounds like a good build-up. It sounds like a good event. We'll have to see what we can do.
You and I are going to be running for the king and queen.
Oh, okay. Well, the less said about which, the better. But we'll leave that there. Moving on. So we do have a game coming up here. The Southampton, right? Next Saturday, and as usual, we have to get a prediction from both you guys. So, John, we'll start with you. What do you think is going to be the outcome of this one?
Well, I hate to say it because feelings have to be pretty high after thumping them 5-0 in the FA Cup, but that was a whole other squad. We continue to look pretty sluggish, even against Sutton there. I think we're going to labor against them, especially at their ground, and I hope I'm not too optimistic when I say that I'd like to see us escape with a 2-1 win.
2-1, yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, right. That is at their place. So yeah, 2-1. Okay. Well, we'll let you both go first, and then we'll make ours. Colin, what do you think for that game?
I hope we can get a win. Away at Southampton is not easy. I would honestly probably be okay with a draw, though. At this point, we need to start going on a run. Maybe I'm thinking maybe like a hard-fought lucky goal 1-0 victory and get out of there.
1-0. All right. That sounds fair enough. I'm gonna say Kyle, because Kyle and I are at the wouldn't you know, we're at the top of the table here in the Arsenal Review USA podcast prediction league as the host and co-host. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. And what are you going to say, Kyle?
I was going to say a draw as well, but I like a few more goals in that game. I'm gonna go with 2-2.
Okay. All right. I got you down for 2-2. All right. Well, guys. Yeah. Hopefully. I don't know if you have any other words of wisdom to lay on us before we let you go here. Yeah. It was quite a night, like I said, with the Butterbean-esque. What was that guy's name, Kyle?
Wayne Shaw.
Wayne Shaw. Yeah.
Wayne Shaw.
Wait, everyone knows his name but me, apparently. Okay, Wayne Shaw.
The man, the hero, the legend, Wayne Shaw. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about contacting him as a Gooner Gras guest next year, so we'll see how that goes.
I think he'd love that.
The good news, right? The good news is even if the FA Cup is still going, he'll probably try to make it out there. So
if there's beer and food, I'm sure he'll make it out. So.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, all kinds of crazy characters going on this week. A lot of really quickly before you guys go, a lot of I don't know if you've been following some of the this is probably categorized as fake news as well, but a lot of the Arsenal fan TV versus legitimate commentators and pundits back and forth. Have you found any interest in that kind of like hierarchy, totem pole of fan opinion, or is it just kind of a bunch of useless noise in your opinion?
I'm going to put it in the category of useless noise. I trust Arsenal fan TV about as much as I trust Kellyanne Conway or Sean Spicer at this point. They'll say whatever they need to say to fill some airtime, and that's about it.
Yeah. It certainly is. It's not even a question, really. It's just it's certainly an interesting kind of subplot off to the side there, where you get to see like the supposedly legitimate pundits warring with the illegitimate, fan TV and podcast groups and so forth. It's just funny to see those kind of turf wars breaking out. In the Arsenal ranks and non-Arsenal ranks around this. But I guess that's just kind of symptomatic of all the things going crazy for Arsenal right now. That
absolutely.
This is really the perfect time, Joel, to announce that we'll have Gary Neville on next week.
Yeah. No, if you challenge him, he'll take you to his studio. So that's maybe that'll bear in. Yeah, but hey, Colin and Jon, thanks so much for talking. I know we've ended on a huge rabbit trail, but thanks for giving us giving us all the details about Gooner Gras, and then obviously all your insight on the world of the hopefully not crumbling world of Arsenal, hopefully the evolving world of Arsenal.
That's a good word for it.
Always
maybe slowly evolving world of Arsenal, but hopefully it gets where it needs to go. Here, but thanks for all your insight, guys, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon. If not, Colin, we'll see you at Gooner Gras maybe next year. So yeah,
sounds good.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Yeah, take it easy. Yep, see ya. Bye.
Good night.
As we eject them one at a time. All right, yeah. So in case everyone didn't realize, we're still here having a podcast. This is the plan all along, just to keep going with the podcast. We told them that,
Now that we've sucked you in, yeah.
So. Bait and switch. All right, so Kyle, you had some fun facts about. There can't ever be enough fun facts about a team where actually I think their backup goalie, besides eating a hamburger, is also the one vacuuming the dugouts and doing all kinds of custodial things before the game. So Arsenal versus Sutton
I mean, you just think about being an Arsenal fan. Anyone could probably relate, if they've been supporting Arsenal for quite some time. When has there been a point where Arsenal have gone, regardless of the result, have gone from playing a team like Bayern Munich, arguably the best team on planet Earth, to a team like Sutton United, where their fat 46-year-old keeper is vacuuming the dugout before the match and eating pies on the sideline, and making headlines for.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it was a pie, not a hamburger.
Yeah, and for everything other than playing football. So it's been a very interesting week for Arsenal. We've gone from, a pretty split, I think, group of Arsenal fans that, like Arsene Wenger, would like to see Arsene Wenger stay, would like to see him leave as soon as possible, to probably the majority of Arsenal fans, including those that were in full support of him, realizing that his time is over, but also you wanting to respect what he's done for the club. And I'm certainly in that boat, and I think most people, would want to be in that boat, understand the need to realize what he's done for the club, but perhaps, not perhaps, but that definitely his time is over, and hopefully we see him off with, potentially an FA Cup run here and whatnot. But with Sutton United, my goodness, a team that is non-league, fifth tier of English football. Average wage, I think, per week is like $500 or £500, excuse me. Plenty of
big. That was just right there. That was a big raise that they just got.
Yeah, I mean, so they're going to be making a little bit of coin, but it's just funny. I mean, I'll go through some of the things I found, a little bit of anecdotes about Sutton United, just to understand this gap of going from playing Bayern Munich in Munich to Sutton United, a stadium of 5,000 that seats about 500. The rest is standing room only. If you go to SuttonUnited.net, which is their official website, there's a couple sections that have been crashing because probably it's getting so much activity that the website's not even working. It's almost like if they were on the show Shark Tank and someone was trying to go to their website because their site is crashing. But one of their main advertisers on SuttonUnited.net is Maurice Andrews, chartered accountant in Surrey. So if you need a good accountant there in the Surrey area, be sure to check out Maurice Andrews. But so just interesting that their site has been crashing all evening long as I've been trying to look up information about them to prepare for the podcast. But a couple funny things. One of their players, midfielder Nicky Bailey, he was one of the, well, I think a number of them were bald in this particular match. But Nicky Bailey doesn't prepare like most people before each match. He is very committed to his pre-game routine, which includes downing a 9-piece nugget from McDonald's before every match. I don't know if people saw that.
Which is a bit of a UK nuance, because of course in the United States we have 10-piece. Yeah, because we can eat nuggets like real men. So 10-piece, not 9-piece. Yeah. But
he's never had a salad.
He does it every game though,
or a vegetable in his life, according to him. So that's one. Just obviously that would never fly in an Arsene Wenger locker room or any top flight locker room. No. The manager of Sutton United, Paul Dowswell, actually doesn't get paid. He pays the club around £40,000 a year to manage the club. Apparently he's a fairly well-off real estate developer in the area, and he actually pays the club to be able to manage them. So not too bad taking a team in which you pay to manage into the 5th round of the FA Cup. Yeah. Could you imagine Arsene Wenger paying Arsenal to stick around? Maybe that's what it's going to take in the end. Wenger's going to have to pay Arsenal to stick around. But very interesting. I mean, I knew he didn't get paid. I mean, I think that they were talking about that leading up to the match, that he didn't get paid, but I didn't realize that he shelled out 40,000 quid.
That's a lot.
40 per year.
He just straight up pays them, or he pays them 40,000 in like, I got to pay for my parking. I got to pay for my, stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, I think I want to say he's probably fairly well invested, and he probably some sort of shareholder. Donates, some sort of tax exemption to a team like that who isn't going to be coming, too much out into the black at any given season. But just interesting there. And then lastly, the 32-year-old Jamie Collins, who's Sutton's captain, He is a building site manager, so he drives around during the week and manages different building projects. And in this article that I had found, he references that he enjoys driving around and doing his day job because it prevents him the chance to have a lot of good banter with his coworkers, similar to the likes of football in the locker room or whatnot. And then he mentions we train 2 days a week. So I mean, again, you've gone from Bayern Munich and Arsenal, which trains just about every day, and it was very shocking that Alexis Sanchez gets this day off to go deal with this court issue in Barcelona and et cetera, and then they're back for the weekend to train before Sutton United. But no, Sutton United only trains 2 days a week because everyone else has day jobs. And he talked about how oftentimes he shows up to training exhausted from actually doing his job. So he shows up to his part-time job exhausted at training because of his other job. So anyway, it was the people talked about the magic of the FA Cup and everything, and what other competition in the world really in any sport could you find a matchup like we just saw against Sutton, with Sutton United and Arsenal.
Yes.
So although Arsenal, getting into the game itself really isn't that pretty. I don't know how deep you want to get into it, Joel. It wasn't necessarily a glamorous affair from Arsenal's
get into it a little bit.
But
oh, sorry.
yeah,
I sense you're going somewhere. Yes, go ahead. Go.
No, I just think. I think overall, I think the atmosphere, the team we played, so on and so forth, and the fact that we have yet another non-league side that we get to play at the Emirates here in the quarterfinal coming up is probably the bigger story than the actual victory. I guess is my point. Yeah.
Right. It certainly was a game of more of comic relief than anything, which is maybe Arsene Wenger was thanking his lucky stars that was the kind of like the way it was setting up there at the beginning. Although there was a lot of concern, it sounded like, or maybe some planned or prepared excuses for a potential loss from Arsenal when he started talking, and everyone really was starting to talk about the 3G pitch, things like that. The fact that it was wet, a wet not just any 3G pitch, a wet 3G pitch. So you started kind of wonder, are the players rather and the coach, are they too still just so shell shocked from that Bayern loss that they're already kind of fearing the worst in this game? But in the end, it turned out okay. I was a little bit fearful in the first 10 minutes or so that maybe the roughhousing of Sutton would somehow rattle Arsenal. That was certainly the stated intent from Sutton before the beginning of the game. But their class shone through, and they managed to handle or to live with the fast 3G pitch, and a 100th goal for Theo Walcott in the process. Almost a 100th and a 101st goal for Theo Walcott, but no, that was that other guy, the other guy that we don't like, or Arsene Wenger doesn't like, Lucas Perez, ghosting in that kind of dummy goal. To begin with, which is just crazy news. I know it's supposedly fake news that he or his agent said what they did about him wanting away from the club already. But on the other hand, you can't, it's fairly plausible. So you could see why that news story got so much oxygen. Because he is one of the most productive players for Arsenal in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, or however long we've had him. And yet he gets shunned pretty much every game and relegated to starting only these relatively speaking, these minor fixtures. So, it's conceivable that he could say that through gritted teeth, under his breath, maybe not to his agent necessarily, but it's conceivable that he could say that. And certainly on the evidence of tonight, he's deserving to at least get some more chances from Arsene Wenger. So all around a good game from Arsenal at a place where they were favored to win, and hopefully they garner some kind of momentum based off this game and take that to Southampton on the weekend. But Well,
I mean, one final thought on Perez, and we can move on. And the thing is that everyone, maybe not everyone, but the stats don't lie, and I think people appreciate knowing what maybe with the exception of Arsene Wenger and like knowing maybe what the team is missing, or maybe it makes it all that more depressing. I don't know. But Opta Joe on Twitter at Opta Joe tweeted, Lucas Perez has been directly involved in 9 goals in his last 8 starts for Arsenal in all competitions, 6 goals and 3 assists. And, you know, those sorts of numbers are basically as equal to the sorts of numbers that have been thrown around with Alexis Sanchez involved in like 30-something goals in all competitions that he's played in this season. So, I mean, Lucas Perez is about as effective given the games that he's played as to Alexis Sanchez. Now, I'm not comparing him to the player that Alexis Sanchez is. I'm just saying in this particular season, in an Arsenal shirt so far, Lucas Perez has been about as productive as anyone on Arsenal's roster. So the fact that he has continued to be banished to the bench and only can get a start against Sutton United in the 5th round of the FA Cup is a little bit worrying. And like you said, the idea that he would want to leave to, you know, ply his trade at a team that maybe he'll feel a bit more appreciated, it would not be surprising.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it happening. It has happened before where players just rub Arsene Wenger the wrong way for whatever reason. Clearly, maybe there's nothing explicit that comes out to that end, but they're just made to disappear very quickly in their Arsenal careers, and it'd be too bad because right now there are a lot of people, not just me, but a lot of other Gooners out there, a lot of other players they can see him starting in front of based on recent form. I mean, Ozil's one of them. I mentioned that kind of jokingly, I think a couple weeks ago, but really, I could definitely see him starting in front of Ozil, even if he starts in the middle. I mean, he effectively played in or through the middle against Southampton in the FA Cup earlier and did very, very well. So, it's curious that in a team where there's so much starting lineup disarray as there is with Arsenal right now, in a number of positions, that someone like him who's performing very, very well when he does get to start hasn't found his way into that starting lineup somehow. You know, basically, like it's not like he'd unbalance the team by being fit into a role that he's not used to or he doesn't usually start at, some role besides playing out wide. Wherever you throw him, basically that wouldn't be any worse than the way these Arsenal teams are kind of starting out or lopsidedly starting out for the last couple weeks here. So yeah, we'll see. Like everything else, we'll see. And coming up, we got Southampton. We already made our predictions for that. That's going to be. I feel like that's going to be. This was kind of a vacation game for Arsenal right now. What little pressure there was evaporated pretty quickly, and this is kind of a non-event in terms of serious competition. Southampton will be serious competition. And it'll be interesting to see if Arsenal bounce back from that Bayern game in this game. You gotta think the onus is on them to do that. But we've thought that before, and they've let us down. So
what's the verdict? I haven't looked it up, but what's the verdict on Koscielny? What's his timeline looking like?
I haven't seen it for sure either. Whether it's a serious long-term thing or if it's just like a week or two. But
you can continue talking. I could look it up for everyone. But
I'll continue talking about.
Go to the internet. Well, we do have scoreline predictions from our patrons, Joel. If we want to cover those.
Oh well, you can cover those. I never cover those.
I will do that while I click through here to the. And I actually don't recall if we made Sutton predictions on the last podcast.
We did not do that. No, we didn't do that.
That we were planning on waiting until after the Sutton United match,
right.
But because we're the hosts and because we've done this before, we'll give each of ourselves a point because we would have predicted victories. Let's be honest here. But both going back to the Bayern match, Joel, you predicted a draw, was it? Yes, 1-1. Yeah. So you get 0 points. I grab a point with a 3-1 loss prediction, which I'm not happy about, but.
It was wise, yes. It was prudent.
Both Laird and Austin Joel, our patrons that are participating, both predicted 2-1 losses, so they grab a point from the Bayern prediction as well. And then Laird was the only one to predict for Sutton United, grabbing a point with a 4-1 victory prediction. And I'm actually not seeing Laurent Koscielny up on the team news right now, so hopefully he will be back in action sooner rather than later. Updates right now for Aaron Ramsey and Santi Cazorla. And of course, the last update for Santi Cazorla was dated December 8th of last year. Okay. So really no update there. But Ramsey appears to be out probably another week to 10 days, according to Arsenal.com.
Okay. So, fascinating. We get the news for you guys, so you don't have to get it yourselves from Arsenal.
Yeah, I don't know how fake that is. You know,
I could see Arsenal.com going in for some fake news. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
Okay. But, do we have any contests that we need to make people aware of, or is that it? Are we getting out of here? What's up?
Yeah, well, we did a very simple contest for this last week. You just had to retweet the show post that was telling everyone that we were doing a live show for the podcast this week. And so congratulations to @Chattagooner. I believe they live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So hence the Chattagooner. So congrats to @Chattagooner for taking home a T-shirt courtesy of WhoAreYouDesigns.com for retweeting the show post. It's pretty simple. Got a free T-shirt out of it for simply hitting retweet. So we'll do something like that again this week, maybe around a Sutton United meme or who knows. We'll figure something out for another prize this week via this various social channels. But that's the prize front currently.
Mm-hmm. The prize front brought to you by Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. And I think that's the podcast front coming to a close here, because that's all we've got for you on this podcast. Thanks for tuning into a live and on-demand thing. If you're into the on-demand functionality of these productions, I'm assuming that's probably the way most people watch these things, considering it's fairly late at night. But we do thank you for hanging around with us and tuning in after a not so great 6 or 7 days of Arsenal. I don't think we can really say any more than we've already said about the Bayern game and the fallout from that. It just remains to be seen how Arsenal rebuild themselves, and if they rebuild themselves, if they start making new decisions, or if they choose to kind of repeat the errors of the past in some of the leadership that they've been going under. But it's a new week next week. It's a new game on Saturday against Southampton. So we'll get in touch with you on the next podcast after that game. So, Colin, unless you got anything else to say? No. Yes. No.
No.
Just nodding no. All right. So on behalf of Jon and Colin, thanks for them again for tuning in with us and giving us their insight. Check them out too, the crew of Arsenal. That's the New Orleans Gooners and Jon Shay. He's from Woolwich, 1886. That's his blog. You hear him on here from time to time. So thanks again to them for getting in touch with us. Until the next podcast, as always, remember, support the Arsenal and have a good week.